Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Neville Gossip podcast. We are back. You
What?
guys
What?
are all doing well. Yeah. Hooty hoo. So, hope you guys have all been good. We've missed you. I hope you've missed us. But we're back to spread some more good news, some more positivity, and give you guys the good stuff that you need to get your stuff manifesting. With me,
Amen.
as always, is my good buddy, my partner in crime, or I should say my brother in God, Mr. Anders. Anders, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. Great to be back and talking to you guys about this stuff. Obviously, Bryan and I have been talking offline about things, but it's been a while since we've been a lot going on. I'll be honest. So we haven't had a chance to make these podcasts, but I want to get back into it. So I'm happy we're doing this tonight.
He's being modest. Mr. Big Bucks over here, manifesting all his money, goes and spends a month in the summer in the Bahamas, living it up. So, yeah, we're busy, but, you got to take some time for family too. So,
Absolutely.
but
Well, my family is in the Bahamas, so that's why I'm
yeah,
there.
you're
not
like
not
Neville
just the Mr.
Goddard
Big
instead of
Bucks.
Barbados. Yeah, instead of
Yeah, I know
Barbados,
exactly.
they're in the Bahamas. So,
Well, the
that's
funny
awesome.
thing is, I don't know if I ever told you this, but when I first heard about Neville Goddard, it was because my wife, who might not even been my wife at the time, probably about the time we are getting married, she just happened to have this thing on TV where it was this guy. I'm 99% sure it was like Wayne Dwyer, who was talking about Neville Goddard, and I'm like, who's this Neville Goddard guy? Yeah, this is interesting. So I started looking into it, and that's kind of where I heard about it, was in the Bahamas, and then I heard all the stories about the Barbados and all that stuff.
Fun fact, but I might need to double check it. But I believe I read somewhere that Wayne Dwyer was actually a student of Neville at
Like he
one
actually
point.
knew him. Yeah, I wonder if
Yeah,
he
like I
actually
think
knew
he
him.
actually knew him. Because Wayne
He's
Dwyer ended up
could have been, yeah.
passing away. Yeah, but he
Yeah,
was
so he's
definitely
right at
old
that
enough.
age. Yeah, where it's like a young Wayne Dwyer could have barely known. Yeah,
Yeah,
Neville
because
Goddard.
the height of his, like, you remember the PBS specials where they're like
Mm-hmm.
raising money? They were like late 90s, early 2000s, or his ones where he was on there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then he moved to Maui, and then I think he got sick, but he kept going for years, even though he was sick, which is what we're going to talk about tonight. No matter what happened to Wayne Dwyer, Anders? What did he do?
I hope he persisted. I
He
don't know what
did
happened
persist, yeah.
in life, but he seemed like a cool guy, and he seemed
Yeah,
like he
yeah.
really kept true to his message.
He persisted, and that's our topic tonight, is persistence, because I have noticed that a lot of you guys are doing the bullshit and giving up. A lot of you guys are writing and going, I've been doing it for 1 whole week, 2 whole weeks, and nothing's happened yet. Okay, so keep going. Keep
Well, I've
going.
been hearing about other people though. I've been hearing about some of your clients and their
Oh,
success
yes.
stories, and I've been hearing
Yes.
that they persist. They stick with it, and they're so thrilled that they actually want to keep working with you, even though their life is in such great shape, which is like incredible.
Yeah. Now that I need to wean people down, I can't get rid of them. It's kind of funny. But so, you know, persisting is important. Persistence is why I'm going to slow down coaching, because I have another big project that I've been persisting in for a while. And now that I know how to use this stuff, it became easier, but I wasn't going to give up regardless. It's part of why I went on the journey to discover this stuff, because I wanted to know how to crack the code, how to get this stuff done. I was like, I see it done every day. Why the hell can't I do it? You know? And it was the persistence. And the other thing, speaking of clients, is discipline. You guys read their stories, but what you don't know is these guys are going balls to the wall with it. All gas, no brakes. No joke. I had one guy who did it in 3 weeks. You guys love the success story. And he literally was every hour spending a chunk of the hour, had alarms set, everything, just like me with the whole stopping the divorce thing. When I wrote to you guys, that's what I did, how I had 2 weeks, and it happened before then. I literally was setting alarms, and every hour dedicating part of the hour to affirming and being quiet, calm and affirming. It works, guys. It really works. But you can't just be like listening to it in the background. This subliminal shit, there literally is no data to prove it works. I went and looked at it, and it says there's no actual scientific data to show it works. I know that the people who have these subs and YouTube channels are going to say something and they're going to pull something from some blog, but no actual, to my knowledge, scientific magazine or publication has proven these things work, because the whole point of it is you saying it to feel it more and more. I've never heard football players in a locker room be like, do me a favor, Bobby, press play. And instead of them chanting, them getting hyped up, them going, whose house is it? My house, and screaming, they're just listening to it in the background while they're all sitting drinking tea. It's not going to do anything for you. You're not going to get pumped up. You got to say these affirmations, and you got to keep saying them until you believe. And you'll be like, well, it's hard because I don't believe them at first. Well, calm your ass down, then say them, and then get way past relief. If you're just starting to feel calm with your affirmation, you haven't said it enough. Where you want to be is where you've said it so much, that little voice behind that, what we call the voice behind the voice, is turning in to your damn puff daddy. You're Biggie, and your other voice is your puff daddy. You're on stage, and your other voice is like, yeah, no, we don't stop. We got this forever and ever, whatever.
Or Flavor Flav, or whoever you like is your
Flavor Flav. That's the hype man of all hype men, right? 911 is a joke. But I mean, you guys are not doing it long enough. You're not persisting. You're doing it here and there every once in a while, this day, but not these 3 days. And you're like, but my mental diet's great. But you just got done telling me a story about how it'll never happen, how no matter what you do, nothing shows up, you get no signs, but you're saying your mental diet's great. Guys, first of all, we said, stop with those goddamn posts. All you're doing when you take time to write it out is, it's like scripting. You are scripting the shitty story. And guys, the other thing you got to realize is manifesting doesn't stop. You're doing it at all times. So you can't be telling a good story and saying, oh, well, that's not going to manifest, especially when you believe it. You're definitely going to make it come true. You're living in the end of the wish fulfilled for the shit that you don't want.
Absolutely.
You know? So let's talk about some Neville Goddard quotes, though. All right, we got the bullshit out of the way. Let's talk about the good stuff. All right? So here's one. If you can dare to persist in your assumptions, they will harden into fact. It's true.
This is one of the most famous quotes, I think. I think everyone always comments on this. Everyone always notices this when they read Neville Goddard.
Yeah, any lecture I've ever heard, any lecture Neville Goddard gave, he makes it very clear over and over again. If you can dare, if you do it, if you persist in your assumptions, if you continue to do them, even though there's no evidence of them, eventually it will harden into fact. That's what this is. This is you saying it so you believe it. And then once you do, God goes, here you go. Here's a whole bunch of people. You know, the whole signs thing, signs follow, they don't proceed. But they can't follow if you haven't done the work. And they're not numbers, or I saw 333 33 times, or none of that. That has nothing to do with your SP. Signs that you are loving yourself and that it's working and your self-love is sticking is everywhere you go. People go out of their way to be nice to you. Birds before land is, go ahead, sorry.
And I think the work is, persisting in your assumption, right? And just think about the Neville Goddard, he's stuck there, in the army, right? So he persists in the assumption that he's back home, and it doesn't come through as fast as he'd like, but he comes home pretty fast. And then similarly, what's the problem with mental arguments? Well, you're persisting in a bad assumption, right? So you keep arguing in your head about, that person you work with, that, person you're in a relationship with, your friend, whatever it is. You keep arguing with them. And so, not surprisingly, that's your assumption about them, and it starts to harden into fact,
We talked about this, especially with my wife, right? I would be frustrated because I could get everybody else to do anything, including my dad, who I was like, if I can get him and my daughter to listen. Good Lord. Right. And it was confusing for me too, because the one thing I was really good at with my wife was talking myself out of trouble. I could make very convincing arguments and be like, and you love me, right? But you know, you guys have to look at everything that's going on and be grateful too, because the great thing about this is the reason why we tell you guys to test it is because some of your signs are God giving you everything in that book. God showing you, hey, see how with your SP you're not believing, or the money you're not believing. But when you wanted to see this crazy thing, it happened in 2 minutes. That's God telling you, hey, look, you got out of your way. You didn't worry. You let me do my thing. Look how fast it showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Ask God. Andrews used to tell me all the time, ask God, cry out to him.
Yep.
Be like, yo, God, I'm trying to believe here. Throw me a freaking bone, right? Give me a little something. And then watch how he does. Watch how a lot of times he gives you something big, something
Mm-hmm.
so big it kind of takes your mind off the SP, because you're like, I don't mind not getting my SP today because I just got a couple $1,000s. One of the things that really helped with my belief was money, because I saw myself go from having zero money, zero hope of getting money, telling Anders I'm screwed. I don't have enough time to save for retirement, anything. And then Anders, what did you tell me?
Well, that I knew you could be successful.
Yeah, well, in a little harsher tone, but yeah, but and then sure enough, all I really do for money is just say it comes to me quickly, easily, and by a denomination that I believe. So I started off with, like, I think it was 50s, then hundreds, and then I remembered, a long time ago I manifested $8,000 in a week, and really it just showed up on a day, so maybe it was even a day, and I was like, so I know I can do that. I know God will give me at least that much. And I don't even know how I convinced myself of that. But I decided that week I was going to go for 10. And I hit it. I think I did more than 10. And I would call Anders and my dad in my head first. Remember I told you this? And then I would
Mm-hmm.
call you when I actually got it. And I was so strict about it. I would be like, I wouldn't even say if it was coming. I would just wait till it was there. And then I'd be like it cleared. It's in the bank. Definitely got that money. But I would have these mental conversations in my head. Plus, I was having them with them when it manifested. So it was very easy to remember their reactions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow, that's great with Anna. My dad, that's really cool, man. You're really just kicking ass. That's amazing, And it got easier and easier and easier. A lot of you guys don't understand that part of persisting is practice. You don't get good at something by doing it just here and there. The guys that become masters at things are doing it and then doing it when nobody else is doing it. They'll practice when everybody else is practicing, and then they practice like 3 or 4 other times. Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, prime examples. Before they went to their practice with the team, they did 1 or 2 practices before that and 1 or 2 practices after that. Go to YouTube and just Google it, like type it in, Kobe Bryant work ethic. And there's going to be all these stories about Kobe Bryant, pulling a rookie and being like, oh, you think you're a badass? All right, work out with me. Keep up with me. And they're like, I went to his morning workout and threw up everywhere. And he's like, bro, you're in trouble. This is the easy one. This is we're in the warm up. I forget who it was, but there was one guy. I think it was Carmelo Anthony. I was like, I went to it and I threw up, and he's like, bro, this is the morning one. This is the easy one. And he's like, I didn't go back. But Carmelo Anthony was super talented anyway. But he was like, Kobe was a monster, man. Like,
Right.
he just was crazy. Jordan, same thing. If
He
you
wanted to be the
told him
best,
he couldn't do something, all because he got cut. I think it was like his sophomore year, because he was too short, and then he becomes 6'2" or something by his junior year. And in that movie Air, have you watched that one yet, Anders?
No, I really want to, but I'm not up on my movies at all. I've
It's
barely watched
great.
any movies this year.
Yeah. So Sonny Jurgensen, his argument to convince Nike that they should just forget any other basketball players, and they only have $250,000 to give to somebody, which at that time was okay, but not the greatest. But basketball shoes weren't even a thing yet.
Yeah.
So it was like a huge risk. And he's like, instead of spreading it out and getting a bunch of okay players, let's give it all to one guy and let's like become known for basketball shoes. And they're like, we're running shoes. Phil Knight was like a runner. That's his whole thing. Just do a marathon, you know, all that stuff. And he says, okay, make an argument for it. And Matt Damon brings in this TV and VCR, and he goes, you know what this is, right? He's like, yeah, it's the college championship, the North Carolina wins. He's like, in fact, Michael Jordan makes the winning shot, right? And he's like, yeah. He's like, so what? Lots of people make winning shots. He goes, he made the winning shot as a freshman. And he starts listing the other people that are on the team. And he goes, so again, what's your point? He goes, so Dean Smith has one of the finest programs in the country. He has some of the finest players on his team, and everything's on the line, and they give it to a freshman. When have you ever heard of that happening? And he goes, and not only that, watch him. So he plays the tape, and you realize there's people jumping in his face, everything. Jordan doesn't flinch, and he does that famous Jordan fade back shot.
Mm-hmm.
And what everybody doesn't know in the movie, and he talked about later, was one of the guys that played with him was like, I watched Michael Jordan play one-on-one with his brother, who's shorter than him, everything, but his brother would kick his ass in basketball. You know, and he said his brother, because he was shorter than him, when Jordan would go to get in his face and play defense on him, would do that lean back fade shot. That's where he got it from. His brother would do it to him and beat him with it. So he copied it. Everybody thinks he created it. He got it from his big brother. It was just crazy. But he goes, watch his face. He's ready for the ball. And when he shoots, he doesn't blink when the guy's in front of him. And he's turning around like going, yeah, like he knows he got it before the ball's in the basket. And he said, this is the guy we want. This guy is going to change the game. This is the guy that makes basketball shoes popular for Nike. And they persisted with him. They looked like they were not going to get him. He wore Adidas. Adidas sent him tracksuits, everything. But Adidas was like, you're just another player. Converse he really wanted to go to. They had Magic and Bird, and he thought he should be in there. And they're like, we're not going to put you above Magic and Bird. Yeah, they are.
I remember that back in the day.
Yeah. The weapon shoes, right? The Larry Bird, Magic Johnson shoes. Those were awesome. There was no Michael Jordan one, but he had the Jordan 1, and they were.
I'm dating myself by the fact that I know those were cool.
Yeah, I know, right? Like I was 10 years old when the Jordan 1s came out, and that, you know, black and red. I wanted those so bad. The ones that are called the Breads now, or the Bands. But that was funny because Converse wouldn't give him a shoe, and then they saw how well Jordan shoes sold, so they made the Converse weapon, and they had a Lakers color and a Celtics color, which was funny because the Celtics color was black. Because I guess Larry Bird liked black shoes. So he's like, I'm not wearing bright ass green shoes. I want black, you know? And because of Michael Jordan making his shoe first, Nike paying the fines, and the NBA realizing our rule about mostly white shoes is stupid, and these shoe companies are willing to give us a little piece of the pie, you know, they'll buy advertising time that the NBA gets and the network gets. They were like, do whatever you want to do. Now they're like bright pink, neon green. It's crazy, right?
I forgot that they had restrictions on the colors.
Yeah. There's a great thing with Jordan when he goes on Letterman about the shoe. And he goes, so what's the problem? What is the NBA's problem with this shoe? He goes, well, it's mostly black. And Letterman goes, so is the NBA. Jordan just starts cracking up. He's like, right? And they're like, yeah, this is a stupid rule, you know? So, yeah. But again, Sonny Jurgensen persisted. Jordan's agent was like, first of all, I hate you. Second, you went to his mother instead of me, so I really hate you. He's never going to do it. And if he does, I'm going to make you pay out the ass for it, you know? And then they get to it, and Jordan's like, okay, I'll do it. But his mom is negotiating for him, and she says he gets a percentage of each shoe sold. And they're like, well, come on, no one ever does that. We're giving him $250,000. We even threw in the red Mercedes that he wanted. She's like, my son feels like he is going to hit these milestones. He's going to be Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Player, Finals MVP. Like, she literally named everything he was going to be, and he did, because he was already telling himself that's who he was going to be. Eddie Murphy talks about this. He said, from the time I was 13 years old and I realized I wanted to be a stand-up comedian, all I would tell people was, I'm going to be a stand-up comedian and become a millionaire from it. And at that time, nobody was a millionaire from being a stand-up. Nobody definitely was a millionaire from being on SNL.
Yeah. Eddie Murphy was definitely like a child prodigy. Like he just showed up all of a sudden, and he was like amazing. Like as soon as he like showed up, like it was just like, you know, why he got hired, obviously, instantly. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's funny how that works. Well, it's funny too, the story of I don't know. Yeah, it's funny too because somebody was like trying to tell Kobe Bryant like, oh, well, you know, the odds of you like, you know, becoming a professional basketball player like really low. You shouldn't like expect that. And he's like,
yeah, out of high school, right? He didn't go to college.
Exactly. He was like, you know, he knew he was the exception. So.
And then they stopped for a while. You couldn't go from high school to the pros, and I think that was because people were like, man, don't let these young motherfuckers in here because they're whooping our ass. And then they made an exception for LeBron or something. I forget what happened with LeBron, but he ends up doing it too.
That opens it all up. Yeah.
And they're kind of like, we are taking money out of these kids' mouths by making them go to the NCAA because the NCAA doesn't pay them, and the NCAA doesn't want them to go pro because they don't get to make money off of them for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. But it seems like now everybody's leaving early. But anyway, let's get back to our topic at hand.
But so again, the point is, all of these guys persisted.
Exactly.
Eddie Murphy, 13, starts saying it. By 19, he is giving, I think, an Academy Award nominated performance in 48 hours. You would never know that's a 19-year-old boy. He's still a teenager holding his own with Nick Nolte, an Oscar-winning actor. Literally, everybody loves the movie because of the dynamic between those two. As great and crabby as Nick Nolte is, Eddie Murphy's really funny. Persistence. He also said, I said, every single day, all throughout the day. He had no proof. Even when he made it, he wasn't making millions at first. Jim Carrey, same thing. Then he realizes, just because I don't have the money today doesn't mean my agent's not already got the wheels in motion for the deal to allow me to cash this $10 million check. Now, the problem that I see with you guys is the persistence. You say some affirmations, you start to feel a little better, you start to calm down, and you stop. If you do that, you didn't do anything. All you did was literally calm yourself down because Neville tells you.
To be fair, that can be very helpful. It can be a good
first step. It can be very
depending on your situation.
If you do the next step, which is you keep going. Because if you just get calm and your affirmations, all they did was calm you, but
then
didn't
go
out into the world. Yeah, didn't go out into the world either to make anything happen to then get you your signs to keep building your belief, then you didn't do shit. Like, I'll be real. Like, I noticed a huge difference between the times I would affirm and calm myself down and fall asleep, but then nothing really happened, to the times when, like, I would talk about bulldogging it, right? Like, remember the time I told you I had all the money, and then I spent all that money, and I was like, shit, I got $1,500 in the bank, and my rent's due, and it's like $3,000. What am I going to do? And I just stayed up all night, affirming, till I, like, couldn't stay up, and I passed out. And I woke up, and somebody hired me. This guy that I've been talking to needed some scripts worked on, everything. I woke up and boom, money was in the account. He had already paid me.
Amazing.
Yeah. And he was saying he didn't know if he was going to do it, blah, 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 blah. I could probably do it myself. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I just was like, God's going to come through for me. And that was how I started my affirmations that night. Probably a good 2 or 3 hours of just, God always comes through for me. God never fails me. In fact, most of what I say now is that, right, Anders? We talk about, like, when I win the sneaker raffles, I literally enter it and I'm just like, God always comes through for me. God never fails me. God always comes through for me. God never fails. And instead of waiting like all these other people, because I watch these live videos where it's like, anybody hit yet? Anybody hit yet? I'm like, I already hit. I hit it 2 minutes. And then sometimes I was like, oh, maybe that shoe wasn't hard to get. And then I hit on some really big ones. And I was like, God really comes through. Why am I doubting? He just was like, oh, yeah, you think you don't get the big ones? Here. Now shut up. And I was like, I'm not saying that anymore. I hit on everything. And all I would do is see myself in the mirror with the shoe on. I'd pick an outfit out in my head that I knew matched it, and then I would hit. I've had clients do that. Like some of them are collectors of baseball cards, and they want these packs that if you get them for $1,000, it ends up being worth $5,000. They got $5,000 cards or something like that. And the one guy's like, my friend hits every single time. It's not even possible. I haven't hit once. He's like, and then he hit and he wasn't grateful for it. He's like, I hit, but on a shitty one. But like, my friend gets the $5,000 ones. And then I was like, well, stop complaining and stop saying what your friend got and say what you got. And he's like, well, here's something funny. My friend didn't hit on shit and I won. You know, I was like, well, intend for your friend to keep hitting too, because he's the one who inspired you. But they persisted. They didn't stop. Every day, setting alarms, doing it a little bit every hour. Neville talks about that. He says, what does he say? It's over duration. What is it? Over duration? Sorry, I'm having a brain fart. Consistency over duration, I think it is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, consistency over duration. So you can say it for an hour a day, but it doesn't really do as much. He says that could be you take 3 months to 3 years to do it that way. But if you were, frequency over duration. Sorry, frequency over duration.
Yeah.
If you were frequently saying it all throughout the day and keep re-entering the state over and over and over and over again, then before you go to bed, you're going to find that it's very easy to go into the state without even having to do a set. I found if I kept a strict mental diet and I did frequency over duration, things would happen quickly. So much so that I just kind of on accident started to believe anytime I thought about money, I'm about to get some. And then I would say, I'm about to get like a shit ton. And there were days I woke up, I was like, I feel like I'm going to just like go crazy today. It's just going to be nuts today. Remember? And then I would call you and I'd be like, I knew it was coming, man. I knew I was going to get that much. And it was like, I made 10 grand in a day, you know,
There's
this much in a day. Yeah.
There's a great quote. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Yeah.
There's a great quote, something to the effect of, I don't pray more than 15 minutes, but I never go more than 15 minutes without praying.
Yeah.
And that's that same thing, which is that it's not.
That's what you got to do.
It's not about him just, spending a ton of time on one sitting to really be effective. It was that he continually throughout the day reaffirmed his beliefs and praised the Lord and declared.
God, I love that one actually. That's really good. I never pray more than 15 minutes, but I never go more than 15 minutes of that. That's awesome. It's like Neville says, persist in your assumption and be faithful to your assumption.
Exactly.
He's saying, that's what I'm saying. Don't just do it till you got relief. Do it till you got belief. Persist in the assumption and then be faithful to it. If you're faithful to it, it's because you believe it.
Yeah, and that's a big part of our concept of faith is that persistence. That's what we mean by faithfulness usually is that we stick to it. We're faithful in our marriage vows. We stick with our wife. We're faithful to our promises.
Choice, guys. Yeah, marriage is a choice. It's not a feeling. Love is a choice. Love is a choice, not a feeling. There are days you wake up and you guys don't want to love each other. You're really hurt or whatever. And then you have to remember all the good stuff. And then you also have to say, it's a choice. I made fun of somebody for telling me that a long time ago. So I apologize to her here. I don't even know her. It was like on this documentary about like the chastity prom or whatever, these religious people, But Neville says this also. You cannot persist in wanting what you already have.
Mm-hmm.
So if you persist in it, what you want to persist in is saying you have it. So many of you guys are like, I hope I get it. I hope. No, he's saying persist in it until you believe you have it and you don't want it anymore. And then what you're saying after that, once you get to that place is you're making a declaration as if somebody asked you, do you have $1 million in the bank? And you're going, yeah, I have $1 million in the bank. I am a millionaire. If you assume you are what you desire to be to the point of ecstasy, you no longer want it. That's why he tells you, pick a scene that is highly emotionally charged, not because the feelings of it are important, but the feelings of it make you feel like you lived it. Think about, because this will be easier for a lot of you.
A memory of you.
Yeah. So think about something that makes you angry, right? Like for me, I could think about times I was bullied as a kid. And then versus like when I got older and stronger and bigger, and I'd be like, I watched I'm Gonna Get You Sucker the other night, and the mom talks about, yeah, well, you weren't so fucking tough when the little people down the street whooped your ass. And he's like, I'm telling you, man, if I see them little dudes, I'll whoop their ass now, you know? And he's like really angry about it. And I was like, my wife was like, that's like you, dude. Like you know, you'll start talking about your bullies, and then you'll be like, fucking, you know, and I can go right to that place, but this time I'm like, and I'll whoop your ass this time, you know? But like, it's dumb, but I can literally, so a lot of you guys do that, but with the bad stuff, instead of really just pushing your imagination and going, fuck it, let me just really go for it here. And seeing yourself proposing, dancing in your living room, kissing her. Shit, I've seen people do this remote seduction thing. I don't really think it works, but if you can make yourself feel like you just got laid, go for it. Because I can't think of a better way to visualize than visualizing having sex. I would think that'd be a great visualization and would probably relax your ass afterwards too, you know? So whatever it takes, but make it highly emotionally charged, feel like you lived it. And then when you do that, like I would calm down again, like, okay, well, I'm not there. The bullies are okay, it's done. But I can put myself right back into it. Same thing though with other things. I can put myself right into the night I proposed. I can put myself right into the night I held my daughter for the first time. I can tell you everything about those days. And when I think about them, I get emotional. My scene with her, the other thing you guys can do to help yourself persist is if you get tired of affirmations, you're struggling with sats, is pick a highly emotional scene. Mine was, I come home from work, I go into the bedroom, my wife is laying down, my daughter is asleep on her pregnant belly. She's stroking my daughter's hair, and she goes, she's sleeping. And I come in, and she touches her belly, and she touches my daughter, and looks at me with a little tear in her eye, and says, I love them both so much. Thank you for saving our family. See, even as I say it, I feel it. You know, that's the kind of scene you want to create. A lot of you guys, when I talk to you, like, I have my scene, and it's like, I come home, and her favorite thing is she likes me to cook curry. So I made a curry, and we sit on the couch all night, and we watch our favorite shows. The end. I'm like, where's the emotional charge in that? You know?
Yeah.
Where's the feeling that's going to make you go right to that place and feel like it's real? To where it's so real, you're going, thank you, God. Thank you. That's the other thing we do a lot of that Anders showed me too. Thank God when you get stuff. A lot of what I do now is I already have it, and like God always comes through for me. God never fails me. And then a lot of times it's thank you, God.
Thank him in advance.
Yeah, thanking him in advance. And then also saying, I love you, God. Because I'm like, you know what? God shows me he loves me all the time. My daughter, when I show her I love her, she tells me, Dad, I love you. Dad, I love you. Dad, I can't stop telling you how much I love you. Everybody does that. When I do that, everybody literally shows up going, I love you, I love you. Whole house, everybody's like, I love you, I love you, I love you. Great, thank you. Awesome. And it's usually as I'm saying, I'm a wonderful husband. I'm an amazing father. Everybody shows up to be like, you are a wonderful husband. You are a wonderful father. Right? Dad, you eat the best chicken nuggets. You're awesome in doing the dishes and helping and cleaning up and da-da-da. I don't have to ask anything anymore. Right? Your significant other, when they come back, will think you're a fucking mind reader. Because you'll just be wanting to do nice things. And, you know, I'm sure every guy has had that conversation. She was like, I don't want to have to ask you. I just want you to do it. Right? Well, now you'll know what to do. You know? So, but again, find a highly charged scene. If sats aren't working, switch it up to something else. So many people are like, I can't get into sats. What do? Pick one of the other 30,000 techniques. I can't visualize. Then hear them. Hear them in your head. I love you. Hear them say all the things you want to say. How many of you are actually throughout the day having mental conversations with them? I don't mean where you're getting back together. I mean like day to day, you go somewhere, and if you guys were together at that moment, you'd be like, oh, this is what I normally would say to her, and this is what she would say back, and do that.
And are they positive conversations, or are you arguing?
Yeah, most of them are probably ones where you're arguing, where you're in your head replaying every mean thing you said and trying to apologize for it, and they're going, I don't forgive you. And you keep playing that. So then if that's what you're going to do, make sure you do this more. I am forgiven and I am loved. I'm forgiven and loved more than ever now. I am forgiven. I am forgiven. I'm forgiven.
And this, my friends, ties into one of the big things, we need to talk about, the elephant in the room, right? Which is that what Bryan just said, that describes your relationship with God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the cross is all about, which is that, you are forgiven and loved. And if you have any doubts about that, well, Jesus went and got himself nailed on a cross. So just so you could be reconciled, just so you would be clear, in case in case you didn't believe it, he went up there and he suffered all that. And so one of the things
he did it because he knew you wouldn't believe it.
Right.
I mean, interrupt, but he did it because he knew we wouldn't believe it. God sent his son because he knew people would be like, man, we love our kids more than anything. He picked big things.
Exactly. That's the thing, right? It's like God looked down and he saw his children and he saw them suffering and the crazy stuff they do. And so that's what he did to break the curse. And for a lot of people, it's counterintuitive, but it's very deep the more you get into it.
But when you get good at Neville, you're going to find that what you thought was logical, what you thought was intuitive, is all bullshit. It's just stories everybody told you that you bought into. And that's why you thought you couldn't just speak to somebody telepathically. You couldn't put beliefs in people's heads and change their beliefs and all that. But it's God doing it too. So it's going to happen. Name one story in the Bible where somebody says no to God and it works out for them. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yes. So the thing is, right, is that, Neville Goddard says, persist in your assumption will harden into fact. So like the most important assumption is God loves us. We can hear from him, so you got to really persist in that assumption and, ask him, invite him into our life. I want to hear his love. And, we want to know that we're loved. We want to know that we're accepted by God, we're reconciled with him, that we're in good standing. And despite all of whatever things we've done. And another thing to remember too is that what's the opposite of what's going on? Well, a lot of times people are acting out of fear, right? They're not acting out of a place of being loved. They're acting out of a place of fear, which is totally understandable. We've all been in situations where things went horribly wrong. So it's understandable, but it's not very helpful. But what if we always acted out of that place of being loved and we were like, oh, okay, we're loved, or maybe we don't feel loved by our significant other, but we're loved by God, so we're okay. Maybe our significant other isn't okay, we're worried about them, but we also know that God's in control. So, and we were not acting out of fear as to what our significant other is doing. We're acting out of concern and love for them and wanting them to be set free. So, and then this is also where I wanted to because of the importance of this topic is persistence, right? So there's a bunch of quotes I'm going to try to put up in the comments, but I wanted to read a good one from Lamentations 3:22-24. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore, I will hope in him. So that's amazing, right? God is persistent with us in his love, right? God's the one who's persistent. It's God so loved us that he sent his son down. He took the first step. It's like it says in the Bible, we're loved because, we love God because we know how loved we are because of God made the first move, And so this is just to help you guys remember, see the importance of persistence and how it goes all the way through that. It's the key to faith, and it's the key to you having a good relationship with God and with others. And so that's
with yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I really wanted to lay that out for you guys. Tie those different strands together. Yeah.
And remember, guys, the other big thing is God came here for the sinners.
Exactly.
Right? He's here for you. The rest of us that have our shit together, he's like, you guys are good. If you need me, call me. but I got to go take care of Bob, Susan, whatever, you know? And again, just some other great examples is this quote: if you assume success and persist in that assumption, you cannot fail. This
Mm-hmm.
is the law. This is the law. And it's really funny because part of the reason I wanted to talk about this was I was on YouTube or TikTok or something like that, and I saw this interview with Seth Rogen, and they kind of talked about, what do you think the difference is between the people who make it and don't make it? And he's like, well, I've been in this business now. I'm kind of an old man finally. And the one thing I've noticed is it has nothing to do with talent. I mean, you know, like it does a little bit, but like, honestly, he's like, let's be real. He's like, the people that I see making it are the ones who stick with it. He goes,
Yep.
I'll give you a great example. He goes, and I don't really know, but he goes, Ian McKellen. He goes, I couldn't tell you a damn thing that dude did before he was 70. He goes, but then all of a sudden, he's Magneto, he's Gandalf, he's this, he's that. He's like, you can't stop seeing him. He's like, who breaks out in their 70s? He goes, he does. He goes, and you realize he's had a long career, and he finally got to that place because he didn't stop. And when you don't stop, you just can't help but get good at it. So you might be a really shitty actor in the beginning, but if you get on enough sets or practice enough, if you can't get on a movie set, do it in your home.
Yeah, one of the
monologues. Yeah, but keep
exactly.
doing it in practice.
One of the like kind of screensaver things I have are like, I guess, desktop images on my computer. I have a bunch of like random ones. They're just kind of like funny. But one of the ones, but I have probably one quote, and the one quote is by Jay-Z, and it says, "The genius thing we did is we never gave up."
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh,
they all tell you that.
Great.
They all tell you that. Never give up. Don't take no for an answer. Again, Neville, a man is successful while focused on success. The moment he takes his mind off of success, he becomes that which he is now aware of. So if you take your mind off success, you're going to stop being successful. You know? And guys, you can manifest multiple things at a time, and they're not big. They're all the same size. Free cup of coffee, you're going to find out when you get your person, is just as easy as getting your person. There are people who, when they get their self-concept and self-love good, it's very easy to bring the person down. And remember, because I do want to clear this up too, because some people have asked this and I didn't quite word it the way I wanted to. Self-love is you loving yourself, but giving yourself love, grace, all that stuff. Self-concept is a couple things. It's what you believe about yourself, and it's what you believe others believe about you.
Yeah.
That's self-concept, And what you believe about yourself, I find too, I think we talked about this too, Anders, is the amount of love you have for yourself is pretty equal to the amount of love you think God has for you too.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of love you give yourself, I find, is very equal to the amount of love you guys give God. And you guys want a lot from God, and you never stop to think, what am I giving God? Not that he even asks you to or needs you to. But I tell you, when you do, shit gets easy.
Yeah.
Right? Think about your parents.
And that's why
to do something. I love you, Mom. I love you. Oh, I love you too. By the way, can I get $20 to go to the movies? Oh, my little baby, here you go.
And that's why, like, Jesus's commandments, when you look at it, they're really very simple. It says, this is on what hangs the law and the prophets. And his commandments are love God and love one another, or another way to put it is love your neighbor as yourself. So you kind of you have to love yourself. Of course, people are pretty good at valuing themselves in a lot of ways, but people are also good at condemning themselves as well. And so you do have to have love for yourself in order to love your neighbor. Yeah.
And a lot of you guys tell me you love yourself, but then you don't believe you can get your SP. Then how do you love yourself? Start getting real with yourself, but then also start giving yourself grace, and start, if you can't love yourself, be like, well, God loves me, so I must be special.
Exactly.
Billions and billions, trillions of living things, not just people, everything, an entire universe of stuff. And I am just as important to God as everything else. And God somehow has the ability to be there for me, like I'm the only person in this whole universe. He's like, because you need me now. Why wouldn't I? Picture God as the most loving parent. As much as our parents love us and try not to fuck us up, and I try not to fuck my daughter up, it happens. But God just knows all the answers. He knows the right way to teach you the lesson. He knows the right thing to say. He knows the right way to make you feel. So let him do it. I'm telling you, that love is amazing. Anders showed me how to do it, right? The whole cry out to him, just be like, Jesus tells you the same thing. Like, you know, be like, I want to feel it. I'm lost. Admit you're lost.
It says right there, those who cry out to the Lord shall be saved. You know, sometimes
Yeah.
you just got to cry out to Jesus.
Yeah.
And that's helped me.
Yeah. I remember the days, like it was early 2000s when I first moved to New York, the big t-shirt everybody was wearing is Jesus is my homeboy. It was like Jesus winking at you with like a thumbs up, like with his arm resting over the circle that he was sitting in. And he's like, Jesus is my homeboy. And it was really funny because everybody was wearing them. I was like, that's actually really cool. And I could never get one of the shirts because they were always sold out. Right? But everybody would be like, I don't believe in God. Yet all these people who didn't believe were wearing that t-shirt because it felt good. You know?
Yeah.
It was cool. Even if you were wearing it ironically, you were like, you know, it's kind of a nice message. You know?
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. We're going to keep it short tonight. We're going to ease back into this with you guys. We don't want to throw a lot at you right away. And, you know, we know we're irresistible. We know we're irreplaceable. So we don't want to get you guys too excited, too wet just yet. So, but again, guys, we're really happy to be back. We're going to do our best, but our life just keeps getting so freaking good and God keeps blessing us. It's hard to make podcasts, but we also, because we're so blessed, want to make sure that we take time and share our stories, share our blessings with you guys to hopefully inspire you too. You know, don't ever think of it as us bragging, but like, you know, I joke around with my clients and with Anders. This was the thing Anders and I started off, which is why I do it with them. But we would just talk to each other about how we're balling the fuck out, right? Anders would be like, I'm balling the fuck out at Trader Joe's, yo. I went for the extra bottle of wine. I got that extra dip. And we're like, fuck yeah. You know, I'll be like, I'm balling out of the laundromat. I didn't do 1. I didn't do 2 or 3 loads. I did 4 loads. I balled the fuck out on some laundry. You know, I took off all the washing machines, baby. That's how I roll. Just little things. We would just joke around, but like make it sound like we're balling out. I didn't have a lot of money then. You were borrowing money from your parents then. And then all of a sudden, because we kept doing that, suddenly we were good. We were really good. And now we really ball out and send stuff to each other that we're really balling out on.
And I love that
because I balled out in a car. I was like,
because it's like we gotta take pleasure and be grateful for just all the different things God's given us, you know. And like it's really amazing. Like I saw a great story the other day. It was this girl talking about how she was like down at her local beach and just like kind of like blah blah whatever, and then all of a sudden she saw somebody from like Colorado who'd like never been to the ocean before, and this person's like freaking out about like how awesome the ocean is, and like she just can't believe it. And then this girl's like sitting there like, oh wow, like I've just been sitting here like so ungrateful for the fact that I lived near this awesome ocean. It's like, wow, I gotta be like more like this girl.
It's like, I think it was This Is 40 or Knocked Up. The guy's like, my kids love bubbles. And he's like, oh my God, kids do love bubbles. He's like, I wish I loved anything the way my kids love bubbles. And the other thing I heard was he goes,
great point.
He goes, I want to be as excited as like when a stupid person sees a magic trick. He's like, and I thought about that. I started laughing because I did always, you always, whenever you like, especially David Blaine, right? Like you'll hear him talk to the person and you'll realize the guy's probably like a little slow or whatever, you know, but then he does the magic trick and he's like, oh, it's always New Yorkers too. So I gotta rag on my city a little bit, but he'll find like that guy in the corner who's like kind of a Momo and like has no job. He's like, want to see a magic trick? He's like, yeah, you can't do that. And then he does it like, how'd you do that, bro? How'd you do it, bro? Do you see this, bro? Bro, come look at this, bro. He made that shit, he put it in his mouth and it ended up coming out of his asshole. How'd he do that, bro? Bro, smell that. You know, they're that crazy about it. They're like, it happened. No, I watched it, bro. It's magic. He's really magic. And they're like, it's
dude, I have a friend of mine who, no lie, he and like his family were at some party somewhere and like probably somewhere down the Jersey Shore somewhere. And then like David Blaine was apparently there like doing magic tricks, and he said it was completely bananas. He was like making stuff like appear outside the window.
Yeah.
And they're just like, what
That
is
would scare
going
the
on
shit out
here?
of me.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, this is
But really, it was like
wild.
he set it up ahead of time. But the best is the after interview, right? Where they're
But
like,
you're
"So
like
what
at
did
a
you
party
think?"
at someone's house,
Yeah,
and it's like, how did you just showed up and you're just like making magic happen like outside,
he just
like around you.
knows.
Yeah.
Rumor has it, if you throw a house party at the Jersey Shore or in Manhattan and models are there, David Blaine will show up and do magic to get his way, to have a reason to let him in. It's just he senses it. Wait, there are models there. I must go. There are stupid people. But the best is the after interview, and the guy's like, "Bro, you can't tell me that wasn't magic, bro. You can't tell me that wasn't real. Like, dude, I smelled that card. That card came out of his sweaty ass, bro. No, bro, forget it, bro. No, don't try." And like his friends are like, "Calm down." He's like, "No, get off me, bro. It was real, bro. It was real." And they keep filming him as he's walking away, going, "Forget about it. It's real, bro." He's just convinced it's real. He's so adamant about it. And then they turn back to David Blaine, and he's just standing there, and he just gives this little like smile. It's like magic. I always thought that was hilarious. It was like they're gonna pick the Momo in the group, and he's gonna be the guy that does the card, and then he's like, "Bro, how'd you do that, bro?" As soon as I heard "bro," I was like, "There's the mark. That's the mark, right?" It reminds me of Dodgeball, where the guy has it. He's like, "Who's my bitch?" And he's like, "There he is." It's like, who's the dummy? There he is. Where's my bro? So, but yeah, I mean, you got to believe it. Like that guy believes that magic trick was real, right? And like even when they show him that masked magician how he really did the trick, they're like, "Bro, I don't care what you say. He did it on a boardwalk, though, bro. That guy did it in a studio, bro. You can't do that shit on a boardwalk, bro. He'd have to set everything up." They filmed it. You don't think they set it up? Bro, shut up, bro. Why can't you just let me have this? They're so convinced. You got to be that convinced. Like the people who swear to God they were taken up by an alien, right? The people who met a skinwalker. I've seen all these crazy things.
Yeah, well,
You can't tell them.
he definitely don't want to open up that kind of worms, because
No, we're not going to get into
sorts of stuff
conspiracy
there.
crazy stuff. Believe me, you
But
want to
there's
believe.
all sorts of crazy stuff which has happened to people, and I will say that is partly because in some cultures too. I mean, you could talk to people from some cultures, and I'll tell you about all sorts of crazy stuff which like happens, and a lot of the reason why that happens, I'll be honest, is because people believe it's possible. Whereas
Yeah,
if you come from a culture where you don't believe these kinds of things are possible, you're really not going to experience them, which is actually a blessing. So that's one of the reasons why it's important to, you know, stick with a good belief system, because if you have like a
yeah,
negative belief system, or you're believing in for bad things to happen to you or scary things to happen to you, you'll
yeah.
unfortunately these things will happen to people often, and in some way, and so yeah,
That
that's
reminds
why
me of a
that
funny way of.
I don't want to
Yeah.
get
Oh, no,
get
no.
into a
I want to make
buzzkill,
it
but
positive.
it's a
So
good
I'm
reason
going to
for why
tell
it's
you a
important
funny
to.
version of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I made that mistake, but in a funny way. So I lived in this neighborhood that was pretty good, and my friend lived in a very close neighborhood, but it was a bit of a walk. It was probably like a 15-minute walk, and we would hang out and drink until like 1 or 2 in the morning, and he would walk back, but he'd always be like, "Can I just crash here tonight?" I'd be like, "Why, dude?" And I would go, "You're afraid of the walk home, aren't you?" He'd be like, "I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid." I was like, "I'd be afraid." I was like, "I was over at your house doing it." I was like, "I'm glad you're messy, so you always want to come here. You know why?" He's like, "Why?" I said, "Because I took that walk, and all I could think about is like, this is how people get abducted by aliens. This is when a vampire will come out. And there's no such thing as aliens, vampire." And I'm like, I've convinced myself, did I hear, was that a dog or a werewolf? And I'm just like, what? But I would be drunk and I would have these crazy thoughts. And it was like that video of the guy who like, this is what happens when I go to bed. And he turns off all his lights. He starts running and you see the little shadow people running behind him. I would be convinced something was following me, whatever. And I hated it. I was like, why don't you come over here? My place is clean. Like your place is. And he would always come over, but he'd always stay the night because he was afraid he'd sleep on the couch. He would be like, and then we learned about law of attraction and stuff. And he's like, so yeah, now I can't walk home. I'm like, why? He's like, I really believe that like something's gonna happen, so something will happen. I'm like, yeah, man, you should probably just stay here tonight. Like, he did it so often that I would every week wash the comforter and
Right.
pillow sheets and
Preparation.
everything that he used. Yeah, because I knew Friday night, Boots coming over, I gotta have the stuff for him to sleep on, you know. So yeah, it was just crazy. But like that's a funny story of believing a little too much because we were both kind of like, that's a weird walk. It's not like super New Yorky. It's like there's not a lot of cabs. It's like this weird thing. by a park and
it's
shit.
a
Just
sketchy
like,
dead zone.
yeah, like a sketchy dead zone, exactly. And you're just like, who? Like, this is like, it looks like a war happened here, you know, in between these two really nice neighborhoods. And I just was always like, I hate this walk, man. I didn't
Right.
have money for cabs though, so I'd have to take them.
Spidey sense comes on. Yeah, exactly. It's definitely there's parts in New York where even back in the day where you
Yeah.
know you
But
didn't
it's
you
just
wanted
proof.
to you really wanted to just go there during the day.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, I'm not going. The sun's going down. We better get out of here, man. This is
Exactly.
when the other guys come out, you know. So you can spook yourself in silly ways. Like I'm trying to give a silly example of it because there's no such things as werewolves and vampires, and a grown ass man shouldn't be worried about being attacked by a vampire or an alien on his way home in Brooklyn. But you know, you can work yourself up into some stupid stuff. So just give yourself some grace. Realize how ridiculous you're being. You know, and guys, this whole thing worrying about third parties, you don't just fall out of love with somebody. Even if you do, you still love them, right? Think about it. When you've broken up with somebody and you were the dumper or you got dumped, you didn't fall in love with anybody else, or you fall out of love with them really until you fell in love with somebody else. So your person is still out there loving you. And you're always going to have a place in their heart with them. You know, and for those of you who never dated them, that's even easier. You have a much easier task than the rest of us because you have no bad history to worry about. All you have is just hope and opportunity. You're going into it with them not being mad at you for all the stupid shit you did. So you got a really good chance. So for you to quit is crazy. So just be easy on yourselves. Love yourselves. Love yourself like you want God to love you. And then let God love you like he really wants to show you fail even when you try to love yourself. Like this is how good it can be. I'm telling you guys, you let God love you, you'll be like, SP who? The love you get from him is insane. It's like you finally get to feel what it's like the way you love your kid. You know, you just know I can't love them. This is I'm about to burst with all the love. Then you feel that love from God and you feel like his love is about to make me burst, like I'm the kid. Because you are. He told you I'm here
You want to
for the
shine like that.
sinners. Yeah, I'm here for the sinners, man. I died on the cross for you. You were forgiven before you fucked up. So give yourself grace.
That's true.
What
He was the
he
lamb
wants is,
slain before the foundation of the world.
yeah, he wants you to forgive yourself and just go, because when you forgive yourself, you start doing the right thing anyway.
Yeah. Come from a place of love.
Yeah, you come from a place of love, not from a place of, I'm going to do it because hopefully my SP comes back, because hopefully God will give me money. Just
or
do
I'm
it because you
afraid
like
of God,
me.
or I'm afraid things won't work out. Or,
Yeah, look at Job. Job was, they had the whole thing with Job, and it's like Job realizes, oh, so yeah, I do love God, but I kind of do it out of fear. Did you see Good Omens too? You should watch it. There's a thing about Job that's really funny.
Oh, okay.
About like the two angels in the show. There's always something that's from the Bible where these two angels were there. Like in the first season, they go to the ark and they're like, "Did we get the unicorns?" And the other guy's like, I don't know, whatever. Like, I'm tired. Let's go home. And then the flood happens and you see these two unicorns still tied up in the woods or something like that. And you realize that's why they're. And this one, it's Job. And they're like, so, Job, here's the deal. Like, God's gonna like kill everybody, and then but he's gonna give it all back to you because of this thing with the death. And Job's like, why don't you just give me my original kids back? You're gonna get brand new kids. He's like, I don't want brand new kids. So these two angels are like talking to another angel, like, oh yeah, totally slaughtered his family, totally did all that stuff. Really, they just like let his kids live and stuff. And he's like, listen, here's the lesson you're supposed to learn, Job. So just say you learned it and get it, and God will leave you alone. He's like, okay. But it's really funny how they do that. They take Bible stories and kind of like poke fun at how these two angels fucked it up, and that's why, So,
yeah.
But guys, feed yourself that stuff too. Watch funny things. Watch things that give you hope. Stop watching reality TV. Stop watching chaos and fighting, because all it's going to do is remind you. Stop watching love stories if they make you sad. Watch a stupid Adam Sandler movie. Watch something ridiculous. If reality TV does take your mind off of it, then watch that and go, God, I'm so glad. Thank you, God, for not being this fucked up. For not being this shallow or this stupid. If you watch reality dating shows, it's proof that Neville works. Those people will literally call what's going to happen in the show. Now, granted, I will say a lot of times if you tell producers this is my biggest fear, they're going to make it happen. But it's also manifesting it because, like, they don't have to do that. The But your story is, well, everything's drama and I just know this will happen and I would hate this the most. And they're like, call that person right now. Get him over here right now. Put him on the show. Right? Bachelor in Paradise. I was really hoping so-and-so would be here. And then they show up. I hope, I just know, I feel like it. And then the guy shows up. But then they also go, but he likes her. I hope she doesn't show up. And they're like, bring her too. You know? So it's whatever story you're telling. Watch your stories. Even saying, I can't manifest, I can't visualize, that's a story. Persist in the new story and only the new story. I'm amazing at SATs. Watch how you become amazing at SATs. I'm an amazing manifester. I am one with God. I got a guy right now who has mastered I am meditations, and they make him feel so good, and he's kicking ass.
That's awesome.
It's not even about like the SP anything. He's just really blowing through the roof, and it's because he is focused on him and God. He'll tell you that. Well, he's going to wait to write his full success story for you guys, but watch when he does. Watch when he does. He's not failing. I don't even have to say it. He knows it. So, guys, just keep believing, keep persisting. Don't give up, and God won't give up on you. All right. I'm not saying, a lot of you guys go, how long? The longer you say how long, the more you say when, the longer it's going to take. So just be like, how long it takes, how long it takes. But I got God behind me, so it's not going to take that long.
And depends what you're talking about persisting in. I mean, some things it's like, hey, persist forever because, God's persisting forever. But those are like the important things, like, persist in the idea that God loves me. Persist in the assumption that you love your significant other. Like,
yeah, you don't have to persist in getting your SP back for years and years and years.
Yeah,
but like the thing with God, Anders is right. It should just be something you persist in for the rest of your life. Persisting in your love for yourself, the love for your family, all that. You should be persisting in love daily. It should be a daily habit. All right,
and
guys.
You'll reap the benefits.
Yeah. So Anders, thank you so much for jumping on with me tonight.
Same. It's
guys,
awesome.
We have reached over 7,000 followers on the sub. I was going to stop at I think it was 4 or something. I was like, if I got to there, I would shut it down, but I can't, it's just growing. And you guys are all really listening, which I appreciate. All you new people, welcome, but follow the damn rules and you'll be okay. You won't get temporarily banned. We let you back, but just stop breaking the rules. No old story, guys. I don't do that to be a dick. I also told you I don't need context. I'm doing it because if you believe and you trust in God, you're only going to tell the new story. It's okay to ask a question, but you don't have to say the whole story to ask the question, which a lot of you guys do. It's literally scripting when you do that. Don't do it. Just ask the question. How do I believe? You just do it. There's no secret formula. It's like asking me how you breathe when you sleep. You just do it. If you stay with something long enough, you get good at it. So if you stay with practicing believing in something, you will eventually master it. What you should practice believing in first above everything else is in God, that God loves you and that God always comes through for you and never fails you. You believe that first before you go work on SPs, money, anything. When you go to work on that stuff, you'll get it all quickly. Saying it from experience. Listen to these podcasts. We fucked up. We made the mistakes for you so you don't have to. It's the benefit of talking to coaches, people who've been there, done it. We fucked up. We made the mistakes so you don't have to. But if you do, give yourself grace. Remember who loves you because we love you too. All right, guys. Thank you again for all your love and support. Please, we encourage you guys. Like and subscribe. I don't really care. What I really want you to do is share your stories. If you want to like and subscribe, what you do is help us get these podcasts out to a bunch more people and our community grows and we got a bunch more success stories all the time. So all you success story lovers, by liking and subscribing, you're setting it out to people who have been doing it and they're going to share their stories so you have more to read. Let's make this a big, positive, loving community. I know a lot of you guys have your issues with me, but understand I do it out of love and to keep you from knocking the bullshit off. All right? So trust in God, trust in yourself, and share those stories. We love you guys, okay? Have a great night.
Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.